Hey you! If you're enjoying the Singing Teachers Talk podcast, then don't forget to hit the subscribe button. We are committed to bringing you engaging conversations and valuable insights from experts across the field of voice. By subscribing, it means we can continue to do that. You'll never miss an episode, and you'll be helping to spread the word to other singing teachers, vocal coaches, and overall voice nerds. So subscribe to this channel now and just watch your teaching grow. The comfy slobs are on. I've got a chicken in the fridge waiting to roast later. I never used to really like roast dinners until I discovered an air fryer roast dinner, which is top notch. My nanny Eileen did used to make some really nice roast dinners, but overall they just weren't really for me. But now, in it goes to the air fryer. Hey presto, delicioso. A typical Sunday for me is to get ready for the week ahead. Maybe get a head start on things that need to be done. And of course, I'm going to snuggle up and read at some point. And looking at some of my lesson plans, I started to think about, are these lessons actually fun? And when I first started teaching, and let's be honest, to this very day, I find myself worrying about whether the singer is actually having enough fun during the lesson and what fun actually really means. I know I'm the fun aunt to my nieces, but I can't exactly take my students to soft play or play hide and seek with them or do them a scavenger hunt because that would be inappropriate. Thinking about this though, I've realised I've been unconsciously putting myself up against the excitement of an immersive escape from adventure or the thrill of a theme park, although if it's anything like I experienced on Loggers Leap at Thorpe Park when I was about 7, singing lessons would be filled with horror and fear and something which would be avoided for the next almost 3 decades. And we don't want that, do we? I do also have a fun little story from an escape room that I once did. Me, my husband and 2 friends had travelled to London to time run, a 1-hour pursuit through multiple puzzle rooms. From memory, the first room was set up like a Japanese prison, and we were all rummaging around for clues, and there was a coat that was hanging on the back of a door, and inside one of the pockets was a letter. And I started reading it, and it said, "You shouldn't be reading this." So, in all my polite naivety, I swiftly returned it to the pocket. Should I have continued to read that letter? Absolutely. Because did it contain a really important clue for the puzzle? Yes, it did. Now I'm basically invited to escape rooms to just enjoy the decorations. Jokes aside, I've been thinking more realistically about what fun really means in the context of a singing lesson for people of all ages. Fun doesn't have to mean high levels of adrenaline or time of your life escapades. Fun also encompasses distraction, escapism, light-hearted pleasure, curiosity, and joy. Now that feels much more achievable. So in today's episode, I'm sharing 10 ways to make singing lessons fun for singers of all ages. Strategies I've trialled and tested in the studio that keeps lessons lively, engaging, and seemingly genuinely fun. Let's start with an obvious one. Sing! As teachers, it can be really easy to get carried away with developmental technical exercises. But at the end of the day, people come to singing lessons because they find singing a fun thing to do. That's not to say the sessions should then become a karaoke event where we just roll out song after song after song. After all, there's that saying that's often attributed to Albert Einstein. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So if a student is just singing a set of songs in the same way, then nothing is going to change for them, really. Singing more could mean taking a technical exercise and applying it across multiple songs to generalise the skill. It could be singing a verse and a chorus of a song through an SOVT in the warm-up. One I like to do with younger singers is scales and arpeggios from the Aristocats because it's scalic, but perhaps a little bit more fun than actually taking that octave arpeggio across the range. It might mean being conscious to move from exercise into song as quickly as possible, or even using passages from the song to use as the vocal exercise instead of a scale pattern. Assigning an emotive or storytelling gesture to the vocal exercise can make things feel a little bit more like singing a song and storytelling, and aligned with the task of performance a little bit more directly. Number 2 is pulling on the singer's other interests. Pulling on the interests of the singer to form maybe analogies, imagery, and to apply them to vocal exercise can bring in a sense of fun in a different way. The singer not only gains a reference point for certain sounds and sensations, but it also makes the lesson feel completely tailored to them. On top of that, it's a brilliant way to build rapport. In my intake form, I like to include a few getting to know you questions, so I have something to draw from the outset. Things like, what's your favourite food? Or what hobbies do you have? That way, if we have a singer who comes in with a clear speaking voice, but an unwanted breathy tone when they're singing, and we investigate it to know that actually it's probably to do with vocal fold closure not being efficient enough, and we know that they love a delicious pepperoni pizza, we have a good way in. We could ask them about a memory they have of a really delicious pepperoni pizza. This might then lead them into a buzzy sound which can link to their speaking voice, as we know that's lovely and clear. Yummy pepperoni pizza. And we have lovely buzzy sounds in there to help us with resonance and closure, as well as harder consonants like the P in pepperoni and pizza. From there, we can encourage that same approach onto a 3-tone scale. Yummy pepperoni pizza. Yummy pepperoni pizza. Then we can progress onto just a buzzy sound instead of a phrase. Yum, 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 yum. Yum, 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 yum. And then we can transfer and segue that into the song, for example. Yum, 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 yum. Don't know why my eyes were closed. And then back over into the lyrics. Of course, the song and the emotion that we're communicating might not actually be the joyful, happy feeling of a delicious pepperoni pizza, so we could apply the more appropriate or applicable emotion to that exercise instead. So it could be that we're really disappointed that the restaurant has got the order wrong, or you were really looking forward to it and ended up being a disappointment. Anything that feels that little bit more aligned. Without these nuggets of information from the singer, we could risk giving examples or connections that don't really fit. For instance, if someone was training me in head voice and asked me to shout woohoo, like I was on a roller coaster, for example, that would make no sense to me whatsoever. For me, it would probably sound a bit more like a screaming, crying noise, which is not the vocal target. Pulling on the singer's own experiences and interests makes the work far more effective, related, and far more fun, I think. For some singers, it can be very helpful for singing lessons to have a similar structure so they know what to expect and it doesn't put them out of sorts. And we can't disregard the tools that are hitting the spot, but variety can keep lessons feeling fresh. Let's imagine that we're a teacher who runs a singing group for younger singers, and the warm-up always includes a physical element. Well, one week they could jog on the spot for 10 seconds, and the following week do 10 star jumps, and another one play musical statues. If we took a scroll through the notes we've made across the years from all the courses, videos, podcasts, webinars and conferences, we would probably find hundreds of vocal exercises which target the same thing. As I said, we don't want to disregard the tools that are already hitting the spot and which the singer is getting on well with, but we could explore and offer the singer varied tools by exploring a few different exercises which target the same thing, as it could just keep the singer engaged and on board without them getting bored. Alongside singing and technical exercises, lessons can branch out into harmony work, music theory, ear training, music history snippets, video analysis, performance study, repertoire searching, and even moments of reflection. Mixing up these elements not only keeps learners engaged, it shows them the many different pathways into music making, and that discovery itself can be really fun. I was a big Crash Bandicoot fan when I was younger. Who am I kidding? I still am, and if anyone wants a game of Crash Team Racing, I'm up for it. It actually used to be a Christmas Eve ritual in our house as kids, alongside listening to the Hearsay album. Festive. There were a few missions in Crash Bandicoot, like collecting all the gems or smashing all of the boxes. And if you happened to miss a few, it would be so frustrating. But you didn't want to move on until you got them all. Even though I would want to smash the PlayStation controller every time I got swallowed by one of those man-eating plants, or I didn't dodge Ripperoo well enough on the boss level, it came with a sense of determination to beat the level and progress forwards. Whilst we don't want to pose something that just feels downright impossible to the singer, like I felt playing Cuphead, realistic challenges can offer something exciting. They can keep training from becoming repetitive and stagnant. I still need to find a way to defeat Voldemort in one of the levels on an early Harry Potter game. So number 4 is challenge. On to number 5, Mary Poppins taught us that in every job that must be done, there is an element of fun. You find fun and snap. The job's a game. Getting creative with vocal technique and turning exercises into games can put a sparkly jacket on an otherwise corporate-looking suit. I'm going to go a little inception about this now and share 5 games that can be fun in the singing lesson, which are creative and an aid in learning in the singing lesson too. Number 1 is primal sounds with forfeits. If you're working with somebody who is new to a particular area of their voice, maybe we're looking at thicker sounds versus lighter and headier sounds, I like to use a ball game. I take one of my stress balls, so it's quite small, and we stand opposite each other in the room and throw it to one another whilst we make these sounds. That might be hey or wee, whatever we're exploring. If that person drops the ball, they have to go down to 1 knee as a forfeit. Drop it again, they're down to 2 knees. Drop it again, they lose 1 arm. Drop it again, they have to try and catch it with their eyes closed. This adds a bit of distraction whilst we're exploring new and maybe intimidating parts of the voice, and it gets into a competitive spirit. Sometimes I might even say, let's make a tournament and let's see who has the most points by the end of the term or by the end of the block of sessions. That can then progress into other exercises later on, but it started off with a bit of fun. At the weekend, I was spending some time with the in-laws, and my father-in-law told a really interesting story about a lecture he was sitting in on at university, and his teacher got them up to do an experiment. And the point of the experiment could have actually been easily explained just by the teacher telling them a particular thing. But that wasn't as exciting as actually getting to do the thing and explore a thing. And that message has actually stayed with him now, years and years later, rather than being lost in all of the other things he's experienced over time. So playing a game when we want to get across a message might actually be a way for that student to retain that a little bit more. So Vocal Health Hangman can be a really great way for students to work out good vocal health tips. Of course, we might have to take into consideration things like dyslexia or level of reading, but it can be a really fun way to introduce these tips and actually get the singer to engage with them. Also, it proves a really good use of time when singers come and they might be ill or on voice rest. Number 3 is a version of Ginevra Williams's Emotions in a Bag. I've used this by taking little slips of paper and writing down an emotion and putting that into one bag, and then creating some characters and putting that into another. So a student might pick out angry, and then another one is a chef. So they have to sing their song like an angry chef, and we are guessing what they're trying to be. It also helps them to understand how certain emotions and actions actually impact the vocal quality. It's great for acting through song. It also helps for a little confidence boost and is really playful. I've also got a pack of emotions cards which we can flip through, and we basically play charades with those, singing a passage of the song in a particular way and responding to when the audience isn't quite getting the emotion, and how we can change up an action, a facial expression, a gesture, to help them actually latch on to what we're trying to communicate. We'll probably want to consider neurodiversity here, as there are some neurodiverse groups that might find it just that little bit trickier to access particular emotions and put them on in the body. If you want to know a little bit more about that, check out our interview with Dr. Shannon Coates on neurodiversity in the studio. Number 4 is a bit of a timing game. So if a singer is struggling to keep in time with the music and feel a beat, something that can be fun is to put the original song on YouTube or whatever that might be, and then fade out the song, but the singer continues to sing it so that they can feel a body response to that timing. And then we put the volume back up and see if they are accurate, if they've matched the timing and rhythm of the piece. And number 5 is air drawing. If a singer seems to be really in their own heads, trying to control a lot, overthinking, then I might get them to draw a picture in the air as a bit of a distraction, and after 30 seconds or so, I'll try and guess what they've been drawing. This just gets them out of their minds and into their bodies, and they're not totally focused then on what the voice is doing because they're too busy drawing a lovely picture in the air. So it doesn't have to be Scrabble or Monopoly or any of those, just quick little games that we can put in to make something seem a little bit more fun. Moving into number 6 is safety. Learning happens when we feel supported and accepted and free to make mistakes. In singing training, creating a safe space where singers know they won't be judged or embarrassed lays the foundation for real progress. When the pressure to get it right is lifted, students are more willing to experiment, take risks, and explore the full range of their voices. This sense of safety doesn't just build confidence, it also opens the door to fun. When singers feel happy and relaxed, playfulness and curiosity naturally arises in the environment, where people know they're respected and encouraged. By nurturing a safe and positive atmosphere, we indirectly spark joy in the learning process. Fun then becomes more than just a bonus. It becomes a powerful tool that enhances focus, deepens learning, and helps singers grow with both skill and enjoyment. Number 7, tongue twisters can turn any singing lesson into a giggling warm-up and dexterity challenge. It involves speed, clarity, rhythm, and tongue independence. Sometimes I'll bring out the really fast bit that Lafayette does in Hamilton's Guns and Ships, which really lights up the musical theatre lover. And sometimes we'll make up our own. For younger singers, I've found making a tongue twister out of their breakfast or something that they're interested in, that can be really fun, like piping pancakes perfectly piled, or Penelope's pretty pink popping popcorn. And it becomes a playful puzzle for the mouth. For older singers or those who thrive on a challenge, the staple, I know New York, you need New York, I know you need unique New York, is a good one to seesaw the movement of the tongue, and we also always get many you norks in there. And another one, he stood on the balcony inexplicably mimicking him hiccuping and amicably welcoming him in, can be a fun one to get twisted up in. Every stumble sparks laughter, and it's not just a silly sentence, but a musical workout dressed up as fun. Physical props and toys can be a really fun addition to the singing lesson, also offering tactile stimuli to the learning, whether that's getting the singer to stand on a wobble board, throw a ball, use a TheraBand, or feel different material textures as they sing. Just last week, I had a singing lesson with a younger singer who brought 6 little toys with her, and we used them in our exercises, whether that was warming up and getting the toy to wiggle along with her and using one of them to help find a released abdominal wall on inhalation, to animating them as an engaged audience as she sang. It made the session more aligned with her, it became imaginative, learning became a bit more externalized, and it was overall a little bit more playful. We have a great episode on this with Kaya Hersted-Carney, so if you want to know more, check out that episode 159, titled How Toys and Props Can Create Dynamic Singing Lessons. On to number 9, humour. Laughter is a connector. Using appropriate humour can dissolve tension, spark energy, and make the space feel safe for experimentation. In fact, as teachers, we can laugh about an accidental slip on the piano or a wrong played note, and it can be a great example for the singer that public mistakes don't have to feel shameful, but instead it brings a lightness to them, and one that can be brushed off and maybe later analysed. A silly moment reminds both the teacher and the student that there's a shared human spirit between them, and it can help in rapport building. It might be sharing a funny story from your week or laughing about a description of an exercise to create a togetherness. Just last week, a student and I were laughing because the words that we find ourselves saying sometimes are just bizarre and you wouldn't expect them to necessarily be in the same sentence. We were exploring closure and chest voice and buzziness, but also keeping a sense of space instead of constriction. So I used the analogy of taking a balloon, covering it in chocolate on the bottom, and then putting it in the freezer so that when you pop the balloon, you're left with a chocolate cup. We were thinking of the chocolate cup as maybe the throat space, keeping it nice and open, if we want to use that word, whilst moving from a buzzy into an ah. Ah. Instead of ah, and the larynx rising and everything kind of coming in and squeezing. A description of that exercise ended up being buzzy ahs into your chocolate cups, which would make no sense to Joe Public, who was walking down the street with his dog. But to the singer, they turned and said, "The thing is, I know exactly what you mean." Sometimes fun can be found in a sense of calm and a gentle moment of rest and peace. If a singer arrives feeling stressed, low, maybe a bit anxious, it can be far more valuable to slow down and reconnect with breath and presence than to push forward with high energy work. One simple way to do this is through mindfulness. I often ask a singer to choose a piece of music or a genre that they feel recharges them, makes them feel safe and steady. With that music playing softly in the background, we'll take time to focus on long exhalations, noticing the sensations around us, what we can see, what we can smell, hear, and feel. This simple practice of grounding pulls us out of the spirals of worry and into a present moment, leaving us lighter, maybe brighter, and more open to singing. In this way, mindfulness becomes its own form of fun, not the joy of laughter, but the quiet joy of release and renewal. So there we have it, 10 ways that can make singing lessons feel fun. As teachers, we see the importance of technique and progress and discipline, but sometimes wonder whether our students are actually enjoying the process as much as they could. Fun doesn't always look the same. Sometimes it's a game and a tongue twister that sparks laughter. Sometimes it's the challenge of mastering something tricky. And sometimes it's the quiet restoration of a mindful moment. By exploring creative approaches, we can shape lessons that feel alive and flexible and human. What matters is that students feel seen, safe, heard, and engaged. When we keep variety and creativity at the heart of our teaching, lessons naturally become places of joy, growth, and confidence. And in the end, that's the kind of fun that lasts far beyond the singing lesson too. As always, let us know what you have found to be really successful in creating a sense of fun in the singing lesson. We'd love to know. That's all from me. Until next time.